There is a version of this story that starts in an NBA arena, with confetti falling and a trophy being lifted. That is not where we are starting. We are starting on a street in Athens, where a teenage boy is walking for hours, carrying sunglasses and watches to sell to strangers, because his family needs to eat tonight. That boy did not know he would one day be called the best player on earth. He just knew he had to get through today. This is the story of that boy, his 4 brothers, and the 2 parents who gave up everything in Nigeria so their sons could have a shot at something better. It is a story about basketball, yes, but it is really a story about what one family can build when giving up was never an option. Welcome to Hoops Detailing. Let's get started. Long before there was a Greek freak, there were just 2 young athletes in Lagos, Nigeria, Charles and Veronica. Charles had played soccer. Veronica had competed as a high jumper. Neither of them had ever touched a basketball, but both of them knew something that would matter more than any sport-specific skill. They knew how to train, how to compete, and how to keep going when things got hard. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Charles and Veronica left Nigeria for Greece, chasing a better life for the family they were about to raise. Their first son, Francis, was born in Lagos in 1988. For a while, young Francis actually stayed behind with relatives in Nigeria while his parents worked to get established in Athens. A detail that's easy to skip past, but imagine being the parents in that situation, building a new life in a country where you don't yet have legal status, while your oldest child waits for you an ocean away. And that lack of legal status is the part of this story people rarely talk about. For years, the Antetokounmpo family lived in Greece without official documentation. That meant no steady legal work, no safety net, and the constant, quiet fear that a routine encounter with authorities could unravel everything they had built. To get by, the family sold merchandise on the streets of Athens. Sunglasses, watches, DVDs, whatever people would actually buy that day. Giannis and his older brother Thanasis would walk for hours through different neighborhoods, working, because that is simply what the family needed from them. 4 more sons came after Francis. Thanasis, born in 1992. Giannis, born December 6, 1994, right there in Athens. Costas, born in 1997. And the youngest, Alex, born in 2001. 5 brothers, 1 small apartment, and a shared understanding, never really spoken out loud but always felt, that nothing in this life was going to be handed to them. Giannis has talked about this fear in later interviews. The fear of being separated from his brothers, the fear of losing the only home he had ever known, simply because of paperwork. That fear didn't break the family, it shaped it. So how does a family with 0 basketball background end up producing NBA players? Almost by accident, honestly. A local Greek basketball club called Philathletikos noticed Giannis and Thanasis playing pickup games in an Athens park. The brothers were tall and fast, but they had almost no formal training, no basketball camps growing up, no youth league experience most future NBA players take for granted. What they did have was a work ethic forged from years of walking Athens streets to earn money for the household, and a bond with each other that had already been tested by real hardship. By his late teens, Giannis was good enough that NBA scouts started flying in to watch him. A teenager playing in Greece's 2nd division, a level most basketball fans have never even heard of. Think about that for a second. Professional scouts from the other side of the world coming to watch a kid whose own country hadn't recognized him as a citizen for most of his childhood. In 2013, shortly before the NBA draft, Giannis was finally granted Greek citizenship. A few weeks later,
with the 15th pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Giannis.
The Milwaukee Bucks selected him with the 15th overall pick. He became the youngest player in the league that season, at just 18 years old. A boy who spent his childhood selling sunglasses on the street was suddenly, officially, an NBA player. Here's the thing people forget. Giannis did not show up in Milwaukee looking like a superstar. He was thin, raw, genuinely unpolished, especially compared to prospects who'd been training at academies since childhood. What he had instead was length, speed, and something close to an obsession with getting better. Every single offseason, he added something. A better jump shot one year, a stronger post-game the next, a more reliable free throw the year after that. Former Bucks staff have described him as the first player in the gym and the last to leave, long after his teammates had already gone home for the night. He worked on ball handling drills that you'd expect from a guard, not a player his size, because he refused to be a player defenses could simply plan around. That relentless improvement is where the nickname came from. Fans and media started calling him the Greek Freak, a nod to his nationality and his almost impossible combination of size and athleticism. But the nickname always undersold what was actually happening. This wasn't a freak of nature. This was a kid who had built himself, piece by piece, through pure repetition. By 2017, Giannis was an all-star. But that same year, the family faced a loss that changed everything. His father, Charles, passed away suddenly from a heart attack at 54 years old. Charles never got to see his sons lift a championship trophy. He never saw the full scope of what this family would go on to build in a sport he barely knew when they first arrived in Greece. But people close to the family say his fingerprints never really left. The discipline, the humility, the insistence that none of the brothers ever forget where they came from. By 2019, nobody was calling Giannis a promising young player anymore. He was simply the best player in the league. That season, he averaged 27.7 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 5.9 assists a game, leading Milwaukee to the best record in the NBA, and he won the league's Most Valuable Player award. Winning one MVP gets you remembered as a great season. Giannis won it again the very next year. In the pandemic-shortened 2019-20 season, he averaged 29.5 points and 13.6 rebounds a game, and this time, he didn't just win his second straight MVP. He also won Defensive Player of the Year in that same season, becoming only the third player in NBA history, after Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon, to win both awards in the same year. 2 MVPs, a Defensive Player of the Year award, a resume that already belonged in the conversation with the greats. And yet, one thing was still missing, the thing critics never stopped bringing up, a championship. The 2021 NBA Finals against the Phoenix Suns became the defining chapter of Giannis's career, and honestly, it almost didn't happen. Milwaukee fell behind 2-0, and every doubt anyone ever had about Giannis closing out a title suddenly felt louder. Then came the play nobody needed to explain. In Game 4, Giannis chased down a Phoenix fast break from behind and blocked a shot at the rim that would have tied the game. A play still replayed today as one of the most important defensive moments in finals history. The Bucks won that series in 6 games. In the closeout Game 6, Giannis put up 50 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 blocks, and made his free throws all night under enormous pressure, which mattered more than it might sound, since his free throw shooting had been one of the most publicly criticized parts of his game for years. On the biggest night of his career, that specific weakness simply held up. It's remembered as one of the greatest individual performances in finals history. Giannis was named Finals MVP, and Milwaukee won its first championship in 50 years. When the final buzzer sounded, Giannis was in tears on the court, wrapped up in a hug with his mother, Veronica, and his brothers. It closed the loop on everything this family had lived through, from selling goods on the streets of Athens without legal status, to standing at center court as champions in front of a global audience. The boy who once sold sunglasses on the street was now an NBA champion and Finals MVP. Here's where this story stops being just one man's biography. Because Giannis was never the only Antetokounmpo brother chasing professional basketball. Thanasis, the second oldest, was drafted 51st overall by the New York Knicks back in 2014 and spent years grinding through the G League before finally signing with Milwaukee in 2019, reuniting with his brother. Thanasis was on that 2021 championship roster too, which means 2 Antetokounmpo brothers won an NBA title together, on the very same team, in the very same season. Kostas, the fourth brother, signed with the Los Angeles Lakers and was on the roster for their 2020 championship run inside the pandemic bubble in Orlando. That actually makes Kostas the first Antetokounmpo brother to win an NBA title, a full year before Giannis and Thanasis won theirs in Milwaukee. Kostas later continued his career in Europe, including a stint with Panathinaikos in the Greek league. Alex, the youngest, worked his way through the G League, with stints tied to the Toronto Raptors and Milwaukee Bucks affiliate teams, at times sharing a locker room with his brothers during Bucks training camps. He later continued his playing career in Europe as well. And Francis, the eldest brother, the only one actually born and partly raised in Nigeria, didn't follow his brothers into basketball. He played professional soccer in Nigeria and Greece, following in his father's footsteps in that sport, and later pursued music under the name Ophili. 4 brothers who reached professional basketball, 2 championships won back-to-back, and 2 championships won with 2 different teams. All of it traced back to one small apartment in Athens. The Antetokounmpo story didn't just produce a great player, it quietly reshaped how the basketball world thinks about talent. For decades, the assumption was that elite players came out of well-funded academies, American high school powerhouses, or a handful of traditional European basketball countries. Giannis came out of Greece's second division, the son of undocumented Nigerian immigrants, playing in near-total obscurity until scouts happened to notice him. After that, NBA front offices that once concentrated their scouting budgets on the same few countries started looking a lot harder in places they'd overlooked before. Because if a future 2-time MVP and Finals MVP could come from a small Athens neighborhood, who's to say where the next one is hiding? For Nigeria, and for the wider African basketball community, the Antetokounmpo name carries a different kind of weight. Giannis has spoken openly about his Nigerian heritage and stayed connected to his family's roots, even while becoming a global star who wears a Greek national team jersey and plays for an American franchise. To a lot of African and diaspora athletes, his story became proof of something simple but powerful. Where you start does not decide where you end up. And there's one more thing the 2021 championship run did. It quietly buried one of basketball's oldest storylines: the idea that you have to leave for a super team to ever win a title. Giannis stayed in Milwaukee, a small market franchise that hadn't won anything in 50 years, and built a championship right there, with his brother standing beside him on the same roster. 2 people left Nigeria with almost nothing. They raised 5 sons in a country that didn't recognize them as citizens for years. Those sons sold goods on the street just so the family could eat. And out of that one apartment in Athens came 4 professional basketball players, 2 NBA champions, back-to-back MVP awards, and a Finals MVP performance people will be talking about for as long as this game is played. That's not just a basketball story, that's a family that changed what people believe is possible. If you enjoyed this one, subscribe to Hoops Detailing. We'll keep bringing you the decisions, the people, and the journeys the highlight reels never show you.